ذلك ومن يعظم شعائر الله فإنها من تقوى القلوب لكم فيها منافع إلى أجل مسمى ثم محلها إلى البيت العتيق صدق الله العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Last night we read this ayah from Surah Hajj, ثُمَّ لْيَقْضُوا تَفَثَهُمْ وَلْيُوفُوا نُذُورَهُمْ. So after you are done with the in Hajj, after you are done with the sacrifice, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows that you take your dirt and whatever is on you, you take it away. So it is permissible to wash oneself in the state of ihram, to take a full body wash like shower or bathing. All of those are allowed, but the restriction is on the clothing, that it has to be unstitched and you cannot cut your nails. So of course when you are in the desert, then you collect dust under your nails and you cannot cut your hair and those kind of things. So that is the meaning here, that you can take that dirt away. وَلْيُوفُوا نُذُورَهُمْ. Nadar, we mentioned it slightly yesterday. Nadar is something that when somebody says or makes a claim, and it can be of two kinds. One is that one thing, a person thinks that if this happens, I will do this in their own heart, but they don't utter it. Until they utter it and say it in words, it does not become mandatory upon them. Even if they say it in words, but if they make a nadar or a pact of something haram, that I will do something, if such and such thing happens, then I will do this. And that thing that they are making a nazar of, the pact of or resolve to do, and that is haram, then they definitely, obviously do not do it. Instead, they give kafara. They make expiation for what they wrongly said. And if it is somebody makes such a kind of a nazar that if Allah gives me this or such and such thing happens to me, then I will pray maybe 10 rakat or 15 rakat, 16 rakat, or maybe I will pray or I'll give this much in sadaqah and those kind of things, then in terms of ibadat, then that nazar becomes mandatory according to Imam Azam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi, and it has to be fulfilled. وَلْيَطَّوَّفُوا بِالْبَيْتِ الْعَتِيقِ, as we said last night, then there is tawaf ziyarah of the Bayt al-Atiq, which is the Khana Kaaba. ذَلِكَ وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ حُرُمَاتِ اللَّهِ فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that having said that, ذَلِكَ وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ حُرُمَاتِ اللَّهِ, whoever observes or gives sanctity to the things that are Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that have been sanctified by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِ. So this means that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibits something, then the person who observes those restrictions, it is فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِ, it is best for them, it is good for them in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the eyes of their Lord. وَأُحِلَّتْ لَكُمُ الْأَنْعَامُ إِلَّا مَا يُتْلَى عَلَيْكُمْ. And an'am, the cattle, they are permitted for you, they are made halal for you, illa ma yutla alaykum, except those mentioned to you through recitation of the verses. So cattle generally is halal except that which Allah has forbidden, which is that which has died or that which has not been slaughtered properly, which is again a form of dead, that which has been stolen, that which has been slaughtered in the name of someone else apart from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those have been recited, that those have been excluded. Otherwise cattle generally is halal for you. The reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning it here is that someone might think that when Allah is making hunting haram in the state of ihram and in the boundaries of haram, then one might think that you cannot even use the cattle. No, the cattle is permissible, except that which has been expressly forbidden by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elsewhere. فَاجْتَنِبُوا الرِّجْسَ مِنَ الْأَوْثَانِ وَاجْتَنِبُوا قَوْلَ الزُّورِ. So stay away from the filth of idols. Rijs means filth, min al-awthan, wathn is idol, min al-awthan, so that filth of polytheism, shirk and kufr from the idols, stay away from it. وَاجْتَنِبُوا قَوْلَ الزُّورِ, and refrain from the word of falsehood. The biggest falsehood is shirk and kufr. The Prophet ﷺ has said that, let me tell you the four biggest, most major sins that a human can do. One is shirk and kufr. Second is not listening to your parents. Third is giving a false testimony, and fourth is qawl az-zur, qawl az-zur, qawl az-zur. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it multiple times, which is falsehood, a thing of falsehood. Hunafa'a lillahi ghayra mushrikeen bih. So you stay away from all shirk and kufr, filth of idols, and refrain from word of falsehood. Hunafa'a lillahi ghayra mushrikeen bih. Standing upright for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, غَيْرَ مُشْرِكِينَ بِهِ, not ascribing any partners to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not ascribing any partners to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without any shirk. وَمَنْ يُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ, and whoever does shirk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, associates partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَكَأَنَّمَا خَرَّ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ فَتَخْطَفُهُ الطَّيْرُ, he is as if he falls down from the sky, and either the birds snatch him, أَوْ تَهْوِي بِهِ الرِّيحُ, or the wind drives him away, فِي مَكَانٍ سَحِيقٍ, to a forlorn, far off place. So evil is the example, evil is the end of a person who does kufr. ذَلِكَ وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. ذَلِكَ, again having said that, وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ, whoever observes the sanctity of the sha'air of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and sha'air are of every deen, and they are the particular symbols of a deen. For example, the Ka'batullah, the whole haram, the Masjid al-Nabi Sharif sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Masjid al-Aqsa. Then among actions, the gathering of prayer, masajid, in person's appearance, beard, Islamic clothing, those kind of things, they are the symbols of Islam. So, and they are the symbols of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whoever reveres these sha'air, that is a sign of taqwa. فَإِنَّهَا مِن تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ, that is a sign of taqwa in the hearts. Therefore we understand, and the Prophet ﷺ has clearly said it, that taqwa is from the heart, and a sign of taqwa is that a person respects Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a person respects things associated with the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This also means that things associated with anbiya, they are also sacred, and they also deserve to be respected. For example, if somebody respects that place upon which the Prophet ﷺ has set foot, for example the Mount Uhud, for example the other places in Medina, then they are all, this is the basis in the Quran, that they are all respectable. لَكُمْ فِيهَا مَنَافِعُ إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is returning to the talk of the cattle, that cattle, generally for cattle there is benefits in them, the cattle. إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى, up to a specific time. ثُمَّ مَحِلُّهَا إِلَى الْبَيْتِ الْعَتِيقِ, then their place of sacrifice is by the ancient house, the Bayt al-Atiq. So here it means that there is a certain kind of animals which are called hadi. Hadi are those animals that if somebody, and back in the day they used to do it, that from across the Arab they would travel for Hajj, and they would from their homeland take animals with them as well on that journey, and those animals they would declare that these are the animals that we are going to sacrifice after Hajj as a sacrifice of Hajj. So now when you declare that, now that cattle becomes haram. Now that cattle can only be sacrificed in the boundaries of haram. This is what this ayah means, that lakum fiha manafi'un ila ajalin musamma. For you in the cattle there is benefit ila ajalin musamma, until a specified time, and that specific time is until you declare them to be dedicated as a sacrifice. When you do that, summa mahilluha ila al-bayt al-atiq, then their place of sacrifice is, when it has been declared that they are hadi, they are going to be sacrificed, then their place of sacrifice is in the haram. So therefore the haram, all of haram, including Mina, including around the Baytullah Sharif itself, wherever, the sacrifice of Hajj has to be performed within that boundary. It cannot be outside of that boundary. And that Bayt al-Atiq again is the Ka'batullah, the freed house, the ancient house from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But on the way, until they are declared, it is prohibited. Until they are declared, one can use them for milk and for riding as well. But on the way, you cannot use their milk. You cannot use them for riding unless there is an exigent circumstances that a person just simply cannot walk and he does not have any other animal. Then it is allowed to use them for riding. But generally, it is prohibited to get any benefit from them. They are dedicated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم لا مانع لما أعطيت ولا معطي لما منعت ولا ينفع ذا الجد منك الجد. رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. آمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.